What's going on, everyone? I hope you're all well. I'm back here today for another video reviewing the championship games that have taken place this weekend, and I'm going to start off with a top of the table clash, Bournemouth against Fulham. Now, there's actually a lot of needle going into this game, not just because Fulham are trying to fight to become champions of the championship, but because you've got Scott Parker, who is now the Bournemouth manager, having previously been the Fulham manager, and he left on a very sour taste, having a falling out with the owners, and also having a falling out with a number of the Fulham first team players, including the likes of Tim Ream, who's the captain, and Alexander Mitrovic, who's obviously Fulham's talisman with 41 goals this season, and the Fulham fans certainly don't like Parker, so there was a fair bit of needle going to this game, but in the end, it finished 1-1, probably a fair result. Nothing happened in the first half at all, though. Basically, no highlights whatsoever. But in the second half, Fulham took the lead through no surprises as to who you can guess. Mitrovic getting a header, and it looked like it didn't actually go over the line, but on replays, the ball was just millimetres over the line. And if the technology says it's a goal, it is. And to be fair, the goal line technology has completely worked since it's been introduced into English football, aside of course from when Villa played Sheffield United in what was a very bizarre moment. But aside from that, goal line technology has entirely worked, and it was clear that the ball was over the line. And if the ref sees a buzz or hears a buzz on the watch, and he sees that notification saying it's a goal, then he has to give it. He can't not. So Fulham scored to make it 1-0, and then it was 1-1 by the time the game finished, because just before the match finished, Harry Wilson tackles a player in the penalty box, and a penalty was given, and Dom Solanke scored. I think it was fitting, actually, that considering Bournemouth and Fulham played each other today, that Dom Solanke and Mitrovic scored, given that they're the two top strikers in the Championship this season. But in the end, this just delays Fulham's confirmation of the title. But for Bournemouth, actually, it's a vital point for them, trying for them to solidify that top two spot, because if they even just lost, I mean, every point's vital now, and it'd mean they're more likely going to fall out the top two. But they got a point, and that's decent from them. Below them are Huddersfield, who beat Barnsley 2-1 on Friday night, and it meant that Barnsley were relegated. But first of all, Huddersfield, their impressive form continues for them, and it seems like actually they've evolved so much this season. They can win all types of games. They can beat teams that are in a low block. They can beat teams that press them high like Barnsley, or they can themselves defend resolutely, as they did away to Middlesbrough, and they can put in a brilliant counter-attacking performance. So all credit to Huddersfield. They are now secure in the playoff spot, and I think they'll be really tough to beat in the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they actually won them. But I'll talk about the playoffs when the time comes. But for now, all credit to Huddersfield. Fantastic for them and thoroughly deserved the win. But for Barnsley, it confirmed their relegation, and it's been a really shocking, disappointing season. And even though they went from a playoff team last season to relegation this season, I think the last season was an outlier normally, because generally speaking, Barnsley have not ever finished in the top six of the Championship, and they've typically speaking been a team that have either been in League One or struggled to stay in the Championship, and this season was no different. They've had a really poor campaign. I think the loss of Valérien Ismaël clearly has been proven to be more significant than at the time, when you'd thought, given Barnsley's shrewd recruitment, they could bring in a manager of similar quality, but it turned out that wasn't the case. And they didn't just lose Valérien Ismaël, they lost Dane Murphy, the CEO, who went to Nottingham Forest, and their influential striker in Daryl Dike, and their captain Alex Mowat, who was a massive loss. And to be fair, he was a very creative outlet for Barnsley, and one of the main reasons why Barnsley have been relegated is their lack of creativity. And Dominic Gina and Bassi have come in January and have provided that creativity. And you just think if they came at the summer, then maybe Barnsley could have put up more of a fight to stay up. But in the end, it wasn't the case, and a number of factors meant that Barnsley were relegated, including their lack of creativity. But it was a fully deserved relegation, and given the news now that Pago Aspology. I am butchering that pronunciation, to be honest. The Barnsley manager has left, has been sacked. I think it puts Barnsley in a worse position for them to come back up next season in the Championship, because even though he's seemingly not the biggest man management, in the sense that he's not the greatest motivator, he certainly did have an impact on the team and results, and it just means that there's less stability for Barnsley next season. So it's a surprising decision for Barnsley to sack the manager, but in the end, I think not many people can argue that Barnsley did deserve to be relegated this season. And speaking of teams that have been relegated, Peterborough were also confirmed to be playing League One football next season after they lost 1-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. First of all, to Nottingham Forest, again, it just highlights the amazing job Steve Cooper's done. Phenomenal from him, and I think Forest did deserve to win this game. And Sam Surridge getting the goal, who's having more of an impact on the Forest team, and given Keenan Davis' injury, he's going to have to pull even more of a shift. Because Keenan Davis is a massive part of why this Forest team have been successful. So Sam Surridge is going to have to come in and really step up, and he showed that on the weekend, scoring against Peterborough. But for Peterborough, when they sacked Darren Ferguson and appointed Grant McCann, there was a notable improvement in performance and results, and it was a valiant effort from them in the end. But over the course of the whole season, they've been incredibly disappointing, given their consistent push for promotion in the League One campaigns following their relegation from the Championship in the 2012-13 season. Peterborough have always been up, well, not always, but generally speaking, have been pushing for promotion from League One. And given that they finally got promoted last season and have been so disappointing, is bitter pill to swallow for many Peterborough fans. And given the fact that Darren McAntony is so open and candid online, and their use of data and recruitment and shrewd recruitment for many seasons in League One, so for them to get it so wrong will be very disappointing. However, I think they are far better placed to do well next season in League One than Barnsley, given that they have Grant McCann, who seems to be, who will certainly be manager for their next season, and Grant McCann has a lot of experience of getting teams out of the League One. And also, like I've said previously about Peterborough, I don't think they'll lose too many players. I think, generally speaking, they'll keep the spine of their team and the core group of players that got them out of League One football, aside from Johnson Clark-Harris and then maybe Poku. But Peterborough, they've got a lot to hope for next season. But I mean, for now, they'll just be bitterly disappointed about this terrible campaign for them. And then, just quickly, Hull 3, Reading 0. Despite Reading's hammering, they're confirmed safe for next season, which, from my point of view as a Reading fan, is fantastic. But long term, I am still very worried about the club. Paul Ince may or may not have earned the right to be manager next season, but I'll be stunned if this time next year he'll be the Reading manager, whether he's made permanent or not. And then for Hull, very convincing win from them. They'll be just looking forward to next season now and hoping they can keep the likes of Keane Lewis Potter, or if they have to sell him for a significant fee, because he's played really well and is in really good form, and he'll be sought after by many teams, maybe even teams in the Premier League. Then, talking about one of the playoff teams, Luton 1, Blackpool 1. Luton, I think they'll be somewhat happy with the draw, but there were some very, very poor refereeing decisions. And like I've said previously, I don't like to talk about referees too much because they have a hard job as it is. But there were some really, really bad decisions. I mean, I don't know why the Luton goal was disallowed at the very end. I think that was the worst decision. And then Luton should have had a penalty. The Blackpool defender just cleaned the Luton player out. And Blackpool, I think they should have had a second penalty as well in the second half. But aside from those poor refereeing decisions, I think Luton played very well. They had, for example, Harry Cornick had 2 big chances in the first half. And Luton have a lot of defensive issues and injuries, especially in goal. I mean, Sluga left in January. Then they brought in Jed Steer. He's been injured. They've had to bring in Alex Palmer on emergency loan, and then he was out of the team. And then now it's Instead in goal, and this is only his second league appearance in this calendar year, certainly. And he's done okay, not made any big howlers, and Luton have just adapted so well, I think. They've just got so many versatile players. None epitomise that more than Kyle Naismith playing at CDM, but Blackpool, they've had such a phenomenal season, and Nathan Jones was recently named the Championship Manager of the Year, and I mean, you could argue maybe Steve Cooper could have got that. Certainly Carlos Corberán with the job Huddersfield had done, given that Huddersfield were 20th last season and Huddersfield are now set to finish in the playoffs. But at the same time, Nathan Jones has done a phenomenal job to build Luton up to now competing in the playoffs and performing so well despite their issues with injuries and with rotation. For Blackpool, they didn't play too badly either themselves, creating an XG of 1.95, and it epitomises their performance with the fact that CJ Hamilton won the penalty, who for most of his career has not played in the Championship. So Blackpool, they've had a phenomenal season. They'll hope to kick on and go again next season and perform just as well. Then Sheffield United got a massive, massive win at home. Given that Millwall have been performing well and Middlesbrough have got games in hand over them and Blackburn are still in the hunt, Sheffield United had to win, especially against a Cardiff team that are basically rotating their squad all the time with every passing game, given that they're safe. So big win for Sheffield United, and they definitely look better in this game than they did previously against the likes of Bristol City, where they looked blunt up front. Sheffield United strong defensively. They did make some defensive errors. You know, Wes Foderingham misplacing a pass out from the back and defensively looking a little bit shaky. But aside from those moments, generally speaking, this calendar year, Sheffield United have been really strong defensively, and that will do them in good stead going into the playoffs, going into the final few games of the season and potential playoffs. So Sheffield United look decent there. I think having Billy Sharp play in the team is so much better for them than a false number 9 in Morgan Gibbs-White, as good as Morgan Gibbs-White is. So Sheffield United look better, and they're going to need to rely on that defensive solidity for them to progress more this season. But for Cardiff, I mean, they haven't got too much to play for. They won't want to get battered, obviously, given that, you know, they've played Sheffield United away and they've got to go to Middlesbrough. Steve Morison as manager. I mean, Cardiff are in a bad run of form at the moment. This season, I think it's been okay, but for me, I think Steve Morison's still got a lot to do in order to convince myself, anyway, that long term, next season and beyond, he's the right man to take Cardiff forward. Then you have Birmingham 2, Millwall 2. This game, Birmingham created an XG of 3.98 and Millwall created an XG of 3.17. So it implies that there should have been more goals. But good response from Birmingham, given the horrific loss against Blackpool in the previous game and the recent poor run of form. Another performance, Borough at home, they were shocking as well. So decent performance from Birmingham, and they're going to have to produce moments like that from now until the end of the season in order for Lee Bowyer to win back the confidence of the fans. But the story's more about Millwall, given that they've still got a chance to reach the playoffs, and it would have been so disappointing for them to lose away to Birmingham. So for them to nick a point in the last minute, Benicaphobe penalty, is fantastic for them. They've got Peterborough at home, which, given they're already relegated, you'd expect them to win. And then Bournemouth on the last day of the season. I think it's Bournemouth away. And given that Bournemouth could be promoted by then and not have the chance to win the title, that could be a game Millwall win. So Millwall still got a really good chance. But you'd probably suspect that Borough have the better chance, given they've got a game in hand. And they drew 1-1 away to Swansea in what was a decent performance from them, given that Swansea are a good team and they're away from home. And they did create a good chance for themselves. But I think a draw was a fair result. You know, Middlesbrough, good pressing from the front to nick a goal in the first half. Oh no, just after the first half, the beginning of the second half. Terrible mistake from Grimes. And with Swansea, though, that's going to happen. And I think the Swansea fans will accept that. Playing out from the back, that style of football, they'll score some great goals, but they'll also concede howlers like that, where Grimes gives the ball away cheaply and Borough have a goal. Borough, they played Josh Coburn and Watmore up front, and it seemed to work somewhat, given Borough's pressing was decent and Watmore got a goal. And given they were going to play those two, given the likes of Balogun and Connolly have failed to impress at Borough. So it seems to me that Chris Wilder may favour Coburn and Watmore ahead of the likes of Connolly and Balogun. But in the end, I think it's a decent point for Middlesbrough, given, like I've said, Borough have got Stoke at home to play and Cardiff. Although Stoke are very good at beating the teams in the top half of the table with something to play for, and that's what Stoke did when they beat 1-0, when they won 1-0 at home against QPR, who QPR were technically speaking still competing for a place in the top 6, but now mathematically are out of it. And Stoke, a decent performance from them, another goal for Brown, who's having a great season, and it's giving them something to build on next season. Michael O'Neill, is he winning the fans over? Perhaps online it seems to me that it's still a little bit mixed, but if they keep getting wins like this, then surely Michael O'Neill's doing nothing wrong to convince the fans that he's the man to take them forward next season. Then the last couple of games, you have West Brom 0, Coventry 0. Just Coventry somewhat off it, but you can forgive them somewhat given that the small squad they have and the phenomenal season they've had with the likes of Gokares performing well, Callum O'Hare and Gustav Hamer and Matt Godden, who is out injured, of course. But Coventry, they've still had a fantastic season. And, given West Brom have got parachute payments, newly relegated side, for them to compete well with them and keep a clean sheet is great. But to be fair, I say Coventry did well to keep a clean sheet. West Brom aren't very good at scoring goals. And yet again, they failed to score in this game, despite having a penalty in the 90th minute saved on the line. So West Brom, they'll be bitterly disappointed they couldn't score again. And it comes off the back that Steve Bruce will probably be manager at the beginning of next season for West Brom, which I guess it's not surprised given that he hasn't been at the post for too long at West Brom. But, the style of football isn't fantastic. And as a Reading fan who had Ron Gourlay as CEO at the club, it's a little bit worrying, and I don't think they're going to have a particularly good season next season. It's not encouraging signs, is it? And then finally, Bristol City 3, Derby 1, of course at Bride Park. Bristol City, I mentioned it in the last championship review, how Bristol City's front three attacking trio seemed to be backfiring, and that was the case in this game. Andres Weimann getting a goal, his 20th goal of the season, phenomenal season from him. And Semenyo back amongst the goals, fantastic finish from him. And it was a convincing win from Bristol City, and it's understandable that Derby lost given they've been confirmed now relegated and they've performed so well throughout the whole season and have been so admirable. I don't think Derby fans will be too worried about this performance or result. They'll be far more concerned as to whether they'll have a official new owner within the coming weeks and months. But for Bristol City, it's good for them that they've got this attacking trio that are performing so well. But like I previously mentioned, if Bristol City are to push on next season, they're going to have to improve defensively, in my opinion. So that was just a quick review of the Championship. I appreciate your guys' patience with me. Thank you very much for watching if you did. And if you did watch it, somehow made it to the end, please like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you.